After acquiring the total equivalent standard cells, the following step it will be determining the CBR value for the subgrade. You may refer to clause 3.4 of Arahant technique. It states that the CBR for the subgrade should be taken as that of the layers within 1 meter below the subgrade surface. This is the subgrade. The CBR value should be taken on the subgrade. It needs to be within 1 meter from the surface of the subgrade, so that the CBR value acquired can represent the bearing capacity of the subgrade more accurately. You will need to get several samples to determine the CBR values for the subgrade. In the case that the CBR values as obtained from the test varies, the mean CBR value shall be determined using this equation. You will have H1, H2 until Hn. This represents the thickness of the soil structure, which is in the unit of centimeter. The summations of H1, H2 until to the Hn shall be equal to 100 cm, which is 1 meter. Now the respective soil thickness shall be multiplied with the CBR values as acquired in the power of 1/3. The whole thing here is divided by 100, representing the total 100 cm. As a means of getting rid of the effects of the thickness of the soil. Whole thing here is to be powered of 3. Now, having the mean CBR value determined, calculating based on the equation here, or if the CBR value is constant, you may use the CBR value directly. At the same time, you will need the ESA, the total equivalent standard SL. Then use the thickness design monograph to determine the TA, the equivalent thickness. Let us first look at the components of the monograph. The first axis here represents the CBR value. Second axis represents the ESA, equivalent axial load. The third column represents the equivalent thickness, TA. And the last axis represents the corrected equivalent thickness. Next, we talk about how to use this monograph. It always starts with CBR 3% here, based on the ESA that you have calculated. Let's say it is located here. Draw a straight line passing through the ESA point. It intercepts here. Let's say 28 cm TA. This shall represent the equivalent thickness of the pavement for the subgrade of 3% CBR. Now, in the case that the design CBR for your subgrade is other value than 3%, let's say in this case, we are talking about 5% CBR design value. You will need to draw another line passing through this 5% CBR as well as the intercept with the TA that you have acquired previously, reaching to another point here, which is about 18 cm corrected equivalent thickness. You may refer to the description here on the steps of using the monograph. Once that you have acquired the equivalent TA, your next step is to determine the thickness of various layers. A1, A2, AN here represent the structural coefficients of different type of courses. we have sub-base cost, we have base cost, binder cost, and wearing cost. As for D1, D2 until Dn represent the thickness that you use for the design of the pavement. You may do some trial and errors with the numbers. The structural coefficients can be acquired from this table, which you can get it from table 3.5 in the Arahant technique. There are various types of layers. Use the coefficients accordingly. As for the thickness of different layers of course, you may refer to the minimum layer thickness, depending on different conditions. What you can do here is to get the coefficient first, and then start with the minimum thickness for the sub-base, base, binder, and wearing cost. Test the value. See if it meets the requirements of the TA. If you find it insufficient, you may increase the thickness of various types of courses. You will need to also check these two tables here. All the tables can be acquired from the Arahant technique. Table 3.6 minimum layer thickness. Table 3.7 standard and construction layer thickness. It gives you the standard thickness of the pavement and also minimum thickness of bituminous layers. This minimum thickness of the bituminous layer is determined by the TA that you acquire from the monograph. Let's say in this case, the value acquired is 18 point something. Let's say 18.2. Check the range. 18.2 refers to the second category here, which will require at least 10 cm of the bituminous layer. It means that the summations of the wearing cost and the binding cost in terms of the thickness will need to be at least 10 cm. The minimum requirement, it will be 4 plus 5, which is 9 cm. Look at the standard thickness here. Typical wearing cost thickness is about 4 to 5 cm. You may have 5 cm and 5 cm here, or you can have 4 cm here and 6 cm. The wearing cost should not be less than 3 cm and not more than 5 cm. Let's say now you use the best cost without cement treated. The minimum thickness, it will be 10 cm. The acceptable range, it will be between 10 to 20 cm. You may test the layers accordingly, based on the recommended range. Same goes to the sub-base cost. Once you confirm the thickness of each layers of the pavement, then you may come up with the structural specifications of the pavement layers. Also remember to check against the local authorities' requirements. Make sure you fulfill their requirements before submissions.